For as long as I can remember, I've been using a 3-ounce bobber system to catch chinook salmon. This system allows me to fish deep boilie holes at the 14 to 18 foot level that would otherwise seem almost impossible to fish. This video will give you an idea of how to put this system together. Hello, today I'm going to show you how to complete this bobber system. This is a simple 3-ounce bobber system that can be used for both spring and fall chinook. It has a 3-ounce cannonball, a 3-ounce float, a bead, a corky, a knot, 1 swivel, and shrimp and eggs. This is a dynamite system that you're going to want to know how to fish if you're trying to catch spring salmon this year. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and put a bobber knot onto our main line. Now you can buy these knots pre-tied and just slip the tube up your line and then kind of pull the tube out from between the wraps and tighten it down, and that's a nice way to do it. But if you'd like to learn how to tie your own, this is what you do. Take about a 16 to 18 inch section of 20-pound fly line backing, which is what I like to use. You could probably use a Dacron, just make sure it's not too thick. Don't use any of your high-grade stretch-proof lines or anything like that. That'll just cut into your monofilament line. You don't want it so tight that it just rips your monofilament. So lay it alongside. I like to go up about 14 feet and put the knot about where I think I'm going to be fishing depth-wise. This keeps you from having to slide it up the line too much once you get it on there. Real simple. All you do is lay the 2 lines alongside each other and make a nice little loop. It's not an exact science, but get a good loop on it, right? Okay. You see that we have a loop there made. Now all we're going to do is we're just going to go through this loop with one end of the Dacron, or I'm sorry, one end of the fly line backing. And I'm going to go through there probably about 4 or 5 times. You don't really need to go any more than this. It just becomes overkill at that point. But just go ahead and put it through there about 4 or 5 times. All right. Now actually, if you let go of the line, you're safe. And all you have to do is lock the knot down. I haven't locked it down yet, but it's good and snug down on there. Now just go ahead and tighten it up a little bit. Not so much though that you damage your main line, but tight enough to where it's going to only slide when you really put some work into pulling it. There you go. You see that? The next step that we're going to take is we're going to take this little tiny green bead. It has a real small hole. And we're going to put this on the line first. This acts as the stopper bead that butts up against the green knot that we tied just a minute ago. Let me show you how that works. Now I'm sliding the line through, and it hits that knot, and it stops. This is your depth control. See how that works? Now if I want to fish deeper or shallower, I just adjust this knot, and it changes the depth. Now the next thing that I like to do, and this isn't a requirement, you could use a bead for this, but I like to add a nice big fat multicolored corky to give me a little bit of contrast and distinguish which bobber is mine. Now again, pulling up to the knot, we can see how the whole system comes into play. Click. That's it. Now the next step that we're going to do is we're going to put our swivel on the bottom, but before we do that I'm going to show you how to tie a dropper onto that swivel and then tie it on to the main line. This is not an exact science, just go ahead and make about 4 or 5 twists. Alright. Now I'm using an improved cinch knot here, so I'm going to go back through the loop. My angles here make it easier for you to see. Back through there. Okay, now I'm going through the loop that's above the eye, not the eye of the hook. Alright, now take that tag in and stick it back through the other hole. Get it a little bit wet and grab a hold of this end grab a hold of that tag end with your teeth and just carefully lock that down like so. Look at that. This is the knot that I use in 99% of my connections. Let me show you the loop one more time. We already have it tied to the swivel. Take about 3 or 4 inches of line, pull it out, cross over the top, and double overhand, single overhand. All you need is enough loop to get that weight through, really. Try and keep them even as you're locking them down. There we go. Just like that. Okay, now you're actually going to tie the main line of the rod to the same end. So what we're going to do now is just move this down out of the way as if it was hanging off of the bottom. Now just trim the tag end off. I'm going to take the same end that I attached the dropper loop to, and I'm going to do another improved cinch knot with about 4 wraps, same as I always do. See the wraps? Put it through the bottom hole and then back through the top hole. Get a little wet, lock it down. This is a real simple knot. Now all you have to do there is again trim your tag end off. Now we've seen how the bobber stops at the top. Now we can see how the bobber stops at the bottom also. Our dropper's there, and the other end of the swivel is open and free and ready for our leader. And now once again going back to the swivel with the dropper, remember we had one open end? This is the end that we're going to tie our leader onto. That's right, you guessed it. One more improved cinch knot, and this will complete the system, and all we'll have to add then is our weight and our bait. Looking good. It's on there. Now attaching the weight is really simple too. All you have to do to attach the weight is take the loop we tied for a dropper, tighten it down to kind of a little point, and bring it through the hole in the eye of the weight. And then take the loop and wrap it back around the width of the weight, like so. This is kind of an old pier rig. Would you like to see how we run bait on these systems? Well, what we do is we take a sand shrimp. I have a way to rig them on there that's real convenient, and they stay on there forever. You take the back plate at the end of the shrimp and your hook, stick the hook in right in the center of the top, not the bottom. This isn't a steelhead drift rig. Stick it in the top, thread them on up the hook, keeping the hook buried inside the shrimp. Now this is the trick. You got to push his head up while pulling the tail and making the circle around the bend in the hook. Now bring the hook point out right between his legs at the tip of the shrimp. Right there. Bring the hook point out. Right there. Cracked crab. Now, this guy's on there good, isn't he? He's not going to come off. And you know what? When that head comes off from pounding the 3-ounce lead against the surface of the water on long casts, the tail is still going to stay on there. Not only that, but it's going to break open and release even more scent after about 10 to 15 casts. Now, to get your eggs on there, all you've got to do is take and push the hook or pull the hook all the way through. Just like that. Look at that. And these particular eggs are borax eggs to kind of keep the mess down for this illustration. Open up your egg loop. Right there. Stick the hook point through the eggs one time, leaving it kind of a length of it, enough to reach around to the loop. And throw this loop back around the chunk of eggs and carefully snug it down, not too tight, just enough to hold it. There you go. So there's the bobber rig as a whole. This is a 3-ounce system. It's ready to fish, and it's set at 14 feet deep with the classic cocktail shrimp and eggs baited and ready to go.